Welcome to the Lovecars On The Grid podcast, your global motorsport roundup with me, Tiff Needell, and Paul Woodman.
Welcome to Lovecars On The Grid, your global motorsport podcast roundup. What do we do this week, Tiff? Well, we're going to look back at last week. They've got a bit of news and we're looking forward to Raw pre-season starting next week, so can't wait for that. I think lots of people have been in anticipation of that, but there was quite a bit of racing over the weekend.
Yeah.
But
Thrilling racing.
We got to start with a bit. I know I saw you talking about NASCAR, so we'll come on to that. We've got to start with a little bit of gossip because it's not really gossip.
No news.
There is some news. It's boring. We've been mentioning it for 3 or 4 weeks now about Christian Horner, but looks like on Wednesday, according to reports, and look.
What dicky bird have you been? I must admit, the longer it goes on, the worse it looks for Christian. I think if it had been a frivolous complaint, I think Red Bull would have got rid of it quicker. And Ford are now putting pressure on. Ford, of course, got the engines fired. They've been saying, it's got to be sorted soon. This is crazy. So
Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, came out and said this is not good enough. We expect a full explanation. And we demand. Well, not demand. He didn't say demand. Why am I saying demand? He did not say demand, ladies and gentlemen.
It's demand anyway. It's demand. If you live in this town, it's demand.
Yeah, but I don't speak posh like you. I was brought up. Dragged up, not brought up. But it looks like on Wednesday, if you believe the speculation, he might be getting the boot from Red Bull. And what does that mean? Does that mean Red Bull are going to go to the dogs? No, not at all. But the graveyard is full of indispensable people. He is an excellent team manager. Clearly, there might be something that's been going on here, but he's an excellent team manager. I think the fame got to him a little bit, my personal opinion, just from the outside looking in. I don't know him, so we're all judging based on he might be the nicest guy in the world, but
They can't leave it to a Grand Prix day. They can't leave it past this weekend. That's why I think you're right. I think Wednesday is the crunch day.
And it is horrid how it is Wednesday is the crunch day. It is horrid how we all judge because I don't know the guy. He might be super nice, but you see this persona, this arrogance, and this.
He's upset a few Formula One fans the way because one minute he's the victim and then he's the aggressor. He's got that clever balance between 1 minute, I'll stop criticising us. All my workers' children at school are getting bullied and beaten up because of the Lewis Hamilton crowd, and then all of a sudden he's the aggressor, having a go at others. So he fights his own court very strongly, both backwards and forwards. So remains to be seen. With no other real news. That's about the only thing.
So hang on, no, we got to keep speculating. So let's keep the speculation. Rumour mill churning because I like this sort of conversation. Who would take over? Would it be Gunther? Because apparently Gunther only left Haas again. The rumour mill. Apparently he only left Haas because he brought in a $20 million. No, he brought a $20 million sponsor and he wanted shares of the company. And Gene has said, "No, it's not your company. It's my company." So would Gunther go to Red Bull? Do you think Red Bull would have Gunther? Who would fill those shoes?
I think shoes to fill? Someone internally. I don't know. Helmut Marko maybe thinks he can do a bit more. And it's hard to know with all these Grand Prix teams. You've got these team principals on the fence, by the side of the track. But who's actually making all the decisions?
You're right.
A lot of the people, they're all just the front men there, but the actual people, doing the race strategy and making decisions. It might be Christian talking to the driver, but it's probably someone else that's told him, we need to pit this lap and the tyres are knackered and everything else. So
it's a team, isn't it? It's a team behind anyone. Yeah. It's always the front men, women that get the accolade, but it's a huge team. And I think that's important to know. And let's go back to social media as well, because it is a bloody toxic place and it is all speculation. Who knows what's going to come out? And it's not looking good for Christian Horner.
I don't think so.
And I'm sure the pictures he sent weren't looking good. If that is any truth,
the what?
With what the pictures that he sent, if there's any truth in the region of his body of the pictures that he sent were true, then whoever received them, they wouldn't be looking good either.
You're going full red top now, aren't you? Right on the star. You moved from the sun to the star all of a sudden now, I think.
So let's move on. But I'm sure you're right. It cannot happen until they're going to do something on Wednesday. They'll either come out with a statement to say, look, he's fine, or he's going to be gone.
Or he stepped back. There could be a middle choice. He could be standing down until it's fully decided. But I don't think he can't be at the race unless it's fully cleared or sacked. So he can't be at the race. He's either got to be gone or stood down for the weekend.
Okay,
whilst
there you go.
Further inquiries go. Well, they check out Paul Woodman's gossip to see if there's any truth in it.
I know, that's all it is, by the way. It's just pure gossip. There's absolutely no truth in anything here. Well, there might be truth in it, but it's at this stage, it's speculation only. Let's move on to some proper racing, shall we? What else happened in the world of
proper racing? You know, I keep on campaigning if you like to watch NASCAR. Yes, there are boring races. Yes, there's drawn out stuff. Yes, there's a lot of adverts if you watch on telly. But boy, we had the most exciting motor race. Well, for months, weeks, years. They went to this Atlanta track, and it's an interesting story, really, because 2 years ago, it's only 1.5 miles, a lot of 1.5 miles. So there's super speedways, Daytona and Talladega, where they're all full throttle and they're all in this pack, racing as a pack.
What, literally flat the whole way?
Yeah, full throttle. So what they decided to do, well, with fresh tyres, not the whole time. So Atlanta, they decided to try and create this sort of racing on a 1.5 mile track. So they narrowed it 2 years ago, made it 3 narrow lanes. They banked it up more to 28 degrees. So it's now the most banked 1.5 mile speedway. And it's created this. They're flat at 178 miles an hour pole. So it's not the 200 miles an hour. 178 flat out.
Please explain to me and everybody else listening, why is there such a massive difference between 22 miles an hour difference between pole?
Well, it's just a shorter track, so there's more cornering involved. Whereas Daytona and
tighter
long straights. But I would to show about how Formula One think that all the brains and the clever tricksters are in Formula One, and NASCAR's a simple sport with a lot of dopes just driving around, turning left. Just before we go to the race itself, there was massive controversy in qualifying when Joey Logano was caught with an illegal glove, thrown to the back of the grid, given a 1-lap penalty for an illegal glove.
Do you know what was illegal about it?
Yeah, I've only read it today. It's an incredible story. It shows how much and how tight it is. So in qualifying, it was full throttle. Fresh tyres, no air manoeuvre from the car in front of you. If you're out front, it's full throttle on fresh rubber. And apparently drivers have already been doing this, but he went a step further because I still can't believe it. He put a webbing between his thumb and his forefinger on his left hand, only his left hand. So when they're going down the straights flat out at Daytona and other places, apparently they find an area of the netting and feel the air pressure, and they reduce the drag because it's an open window, both sides.
Yeah.
So normally they do it with a normal regulation glove. Some drivers do it. So he put a webbing across. So he modified his glove, making it an illegal glove, and then did his qualifying lap, feeling for the pressure button, literally pushing air away from the inside of the car to reduce drag. Who thought of that?
Wow.
So he got caught. Illegal gloves. I think there's going to be more suspensions and more punishment to come. But it's a safety regulation because, of course, your helmets and hands devices is all regulated stuff. So he had an illegal glove on his left hand.
That's just quite astounding, really, how someone could feel that.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's feeling for, but it's like when you.
Well, just feeling for the air coming in. You go your road car next time, right? Put the window down and try and feel where the air is coming into the car. You're pushing the air out of the car. So
because you guys have got a better feel than me. Well, absolutely no question. Far better drivers. You, Ben, those new people, Chris Harris, where you can go and you can just feel and explain about a car, and I just get in it and drive it and just it feels all right to me, but maybe they can feel something else. Maybe it's like people that can smell better or taste better. There are only very few people in the world that it is amazing.
Anyway, so they all went to Atlanta, and this modification wasn't popular with drivers because drivers aren't too keen on it because it's lotteries, really. Not this Daytona Talladega, it's a lottery. If you get caught in another crash, you're out because you're all just sitting there. But it was they were going 4 wide at one stage, a 3-lane track. And there was a big shunt on the second lap. There were 7 cars spinning off, and then there were about 4 or 5 more crashes. The number 5, Kyle Larson, got taken out in one of this. Brad Keselowski, a very experienced driver in front of him in third place, I think he was, got it sideways, in they go. And every time it's about 10 go off. And about 3/4 way through the race, they had a number up of the 30 starters, or 29. And only 6 cars were still running that hadn't been spinning off in one of these pack crashes. I mean, not that many people have, terminal damage. There's lots of bits of bodywork. They're all spinning and everything else. So, but every time they got racing again, it was 3 wide, 4 wide, about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different leaders. It was just tension watching it from the word go. So I can't go through all the whole race, but the last lap, ended up with.
I saw the finish.
It was like, Ryan Blaney led, and he thought, and Ryan Blaney, very experienced, he's the current reigning champion, and they're blocking. Once you're the lead, only a few laps to go, you're watching in your mirror, your spotters say, go low now, go high now, go low. You because they can watch the train. The spotters can see which lane is moving faster. So if the lane 2 is moving faster, you move up to 2 blocked. And I think he thought it had it sus, but then first was Kyle Busch made a huge move from the middle to get alongside. Then the Mexican kid, Daniel Suárez, came on the outside with 3 wide. What was actually great about it is so often there's, in these sorts of races, there's a crash on the last lap, and therefore it goes to the checkered flag under yellow. You get an awful anticlimax. They don't race to the line, which is why in most races, the crash is 3 laps to go. They have this green-white checker to make sure they always do 2 more laps to try and get this race to the finish. And they came off turn 4, this 3 wide. I mean, they were millimetres between each car because they were each trying to scare each other and get a bit of side draft. And they just came to the line, and it was just sensational stuff. And in the end, they did a photo. The
photo finish, wasn't it?
But it was 3 1,000ths of a second officially in the end that Suárez won it from Blaney. But the tension coming to the line, you just think there's going to be a wreck any second now, and they all made it.
How close were they as well? Were they close together as well? I bet they were, weren't they?
That's what I mean. They were door ramming because they were all trying to,
Sorry, I know they were close nose to
side to side.
Side to side, they were quite close. I bet as well.
That's what I mean. Yeah, side to side, coming off the banking. 3 of them just. But I mean, Suárez was this Mexican guy. I mean, it's only his second win. And, I think when he last won, but he's always been up there at the front. So he's now done. It's only his second win. Number out of 254 races to show how hard it is to win in this game. These other guys, they all have 1 or 2 or 3 wins. There's regular winners, 5 or 6 big winners regularly, but Suárez only his second win in 254 starts. And he was actually one of the people that crashed in the first crash. He was one of the ones that went off the road on the lap 2 crash. So also, again, it shows you can get huge problems. You go to the back, you go lap down. And then when it's yellow, you stay out, you get your lap back, strategy, you work your way back. I just loved racing. There were only about 6 car Busch. And so Suárez, he was the Xfinity champion in 2016. So he came up from Formula 2. He only won 3 of the 30-odd races that year. So it's just his second win in the top level. And he's winning 250.
If you had to watch an entire race of IndyCar or NASCAR, for the entire race, not just highlights, not just fast forward, what would you prefer to watch? Generally,
IndyCar is better because I'm a single-seater man at heart. I love single-seater racing, so IndyCar is the perfect formula. And NASCAR, they're long races. It's like 4 hours.
They love milking it, don't they?
Well, it's daytime in America, so you're walking around. You got the barbecue on. It's yellow. You have a burger, put something else on your barbecue, get another beer. And, you obviously social event, you have friends around. It's it's a very social thing. And yes, they get used to it. But, a safety car, that you've got 5 minutes to go do something else, or 6 minutes, or 10 minutes. So it was an amazing finish, a very memorable race.
One of the best for a long time. And when does it go next week? Because it's every bloody week, isn't it?
Next week, on the end of my pages, I forgot where they're going now. Of course, I know. They're off to Vegas, baby. Las Vegas, baby. So they go down there. So that was really, really, really impressive NASCAR race. Yes, it's showtime. They designed the circuit to be like that. It's not where the good guys always come out and win. Everyone, so many different riders, were up front. Excellent entertainment, which is what we're looking for. Well, it's going down under. Our next trip was all the way down to Oz, back to Bathurst, where, of course, last week the GT3 12-hour race, and this weekend the Supercars ran their championship. 2 races at Bathurst. But unfortunately, the racing was very predictable. Times haven't changed down there. The biggest gossip is a bit like what's going on with Red Bull at the moment, because the champion wasn't racing, Brody Kozetsky, because he's fallen out with his team. They've had a row, the Erebus team, and nobody's saying what it is. Big fallout between the driver. I don't know whether Brody wanted to leave. So the champion is at the moment not racing this year because he's fallen out with his team. We also didn't have.
You always got to question. You always got to question the integrity of the person that falls out. Because you should be getting on with your team. And these guys work their socks off for you. It doesn't always go right. You don't always get it right, but you got to question that.
Well,
he's
trying to do NASCAR, this Kostecki guy. So maybe it's something about contracts. I'm completely speculating. I actually have no idea. Nobody said anything, but it's a sore point down Australia. And of course, Shane van Gisbergen wasn't there because he's gone to NASCAR. So the most popular, NASCAR supercar driver. And he actually finished third, Shane van Gisbergen, in his second Xfinity race, because he got taken out to Daytona. So he finished third. So he's had a good weekend. But funny enough, the whole weekend was then dominated by the people that were third, fourth, and fifth in last year's championship. So, and it's again a bit, Red Bull. I hate to say it, it's the same story down under as it is in Formula One. It was the Red Bull team that came first and second, which was Van Gisbergen's team last year. Brock Feeney, who was third in the championship last year, won the first race, came third in the second race. Will Brown, who's taken over Gisbergen's race, so that's Brock Feeney's teammate, came second in the first race and won the second race. And Chaz Mozart in the Ford for the Arribas team, which is the one with the fallout that should have had Kostecki driving the weekend. It wasn't fallout. He had a third and a second. So the top guys are still top. And
now I know. Go on. I was just going to say, Tiff, about
the second race. Now
I know why.
20 seconds ahead.
Sorry, we got satellite lag, and I'm only in the UK, but I'm not home, as you can see, with that tree behind me. But now I know why Red Bull, because I wrote to them to ask if they would sponsor the Caterham racing this year. Like I wrote to about 50 other people, didn't get any. I did get a reply from Red Bull actually, and the reply was, we'd like to decline on this instance, but thank you for considering us. And now I know why, because they like to win.
Club racing goes small. I mean, I did this, when I was trying to do from Formula 3 to Formula 2, I've got still the letters. I was going to have my snooker room, but never got my big snooker room. I was going to paper the walls with all my sponsorship rejections. And of course, I went for all the big brand names like everybody does. But in fact, if you're in the national racing, you've got to go for little local businesses. Well, I agree, small bits.
I agree, but because it's going to be filmed for television, I thought, Prime TV, Prime Video, I thought that it would be, I thought a big brand would want to get on board, but it's a full-time job. It's hard. And the rejections, you kind of take it a bit personally as well. Because you know what you're going to give. I certainly feel that we're going to give so much. You see them advertising with different people on different places. You think, you'll get much more with us. We'll give you, TV and YouTube, and we'll be so proud to support your brand, but alas, it goes nowhere.
Little man. Anyway, any Aussie listeners, tell us, are you worried about supercars? Because the fact that, the people saying the same people are dominating straight from work, it doesn't sound like the racing was that exciting. Actually, Bathurst, it's funny how circuits like the Nürburgring, the old Nordschleife, and Bathurst, they're incredible tracks to drive around on your own. I mean, the challenge at the mountain at the top, it's just scary. And in fact, there's only like 3 straights where you can overtake on the sort of end of the lap, the start of the lap, and then the first straight up to the sort of, and then you're just single file, you're stuck. You can make moves, but they're pretty, they're pretty risky ones. So, are you worried down under that the cars are getting a bit predictable? Red Bull dominating again, same people up front, or is it just a Bathurst thing? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know below in the comments.
There's more excitement, more like the NASCAR. I think there's more excitement a bit south, in fact, right at the bottom right-hand corner of Australia, down at Phillip Island, where the world's Superbikes kicked off their season. And wow, the whole form book's been turned upside down. It's fantastic. I think the season ahead, start watching World Superbikes. I saw when it was the same 3, Ray, Gazgalutu, and it was the 3 that kept on winning everything.
Razgat,
and of course Bautista, the champion, Ducati. And so there's the same people on the podium. Every race, it was those 3, wasn't it? Always on the podium in a different order. But wow, this season's just started upside down. And they've got a different tyre. They've moved from, was it Bridgestone to Pirelli? And actually, because of Phillip Island, they've resurfaced again. And last year, the Bridgestones all overheated after 10 laps. So they actually had pit stops, enforced 1.5 minute pit stop. You had to change your tyres, even in our Pirellis, because they had such tyre wear as Phillip Island. But no, so in qualifying, Bautista, Ducati champion, was only 9th on the grid. Toprak was 5th. Now he's on a BMW, so he's changed bikes. And Jonathan Rea, who's gone from Kawasaki to Yamaha, would only qualified like 11th and not happy until. He's 9 years on Kawasaki, 6 championships, and he's decided to leave them. And it doesn't look like it's a good idea at the moment because his Yamaha's not going well. But the first race, Bautista went from 9th to 2nd and then back to 10th and then crashed. Picked it up, I think, and finished 15th. But loads of drama. And then the normal names not up there because the winner was Italian Nicola Bulega, who's Bautista's teammate. He's new debut in World Superbikes, but he's a champion in Super Sports. In fact, he won 16 of the 24 races last year. So this Italian,
wow,
a name unknown to me, dominated the Formula 2 as it was, and won his first World Superbike race.
Wow.
I was Italian 1, 2, 3 because second was Andrea Locatelli.
What's it? Say his name again. Story. The first place guy,
Niccolo Bulega or Bulega. And where's I'm now going to forget which driver. I've written it down.
Second, 1, 2, 3.
So second was Andrea Locatelli on the Yamaha, who was Razgatlioglu's teammate last year. So he was on his Yamaha, whereas it would appear that Rea doesn't like his. But the third place, another interesting story. Italian first whole podium was Italians, and third was Andrea Iannone, who was on a satellite Ducati, who was coming back after a 4-year doping ban, which I'd completely forgotten about. He was banned from World Superbikes. I think he was in GP when he got the ban. So his first race back on a satellite Ducati, and he finished third. So all of a sudden, world turned upside down. Fourth and best Brit on a Kawasaki, which Jonathan Rea might wish he was still back on, was Alex Lowes, the brother of Sam Lowes, who we saw quite a lot in Moto 2 last year, who's now doing World Superbikes. And Sam actually finished 11th in race 1, whereas Jonathan Rea was back in 17th. Razgatlioglu got 5th for the BMW, so it's complete change, wonderful stuff. Alex Lowes is interesting. He was the British Superbike champion in 2013. And he's been doing World Superbikes now for how many years? Is that like 13 to a lot? He's never finished higher than, I think this was his second win. He won the second race. It was his first win for 7 or 8 years. It's amazing how these drivers, we're just about Suárez in NASCAR. Winning ain't easy. You can be out there.
It's not. Well, that Niccolo Bulega winning 16 or 24, that's just unbelievable in any race, really, because it's always tough. What's the optimum age for a on two wheels? What do you think?
No idea.
Sort of late 20s?
You've got to be mid-late 20s, I think. I don't know, but people like Rossi came in as a kid. But so Alex Lowes won the second race, as I was saying, his first win since second win out of 298 roads since 2018 in the Czech. So that's his first win after 6 years. He's only won twice in World Superbikes. So great. So he's on the move. His brother Sam came 8th in the second race. Andrea Locatelli finished 2nd, same as in the first race. And Toprak got 3rd place for BMW, which must be their first podium. There might be one somewhere back, but first podium I've heard of with this new BMW's on. And Bautista got 4th in the second race. So it's all looking great. Third race, Alex Lowes won again. Having just had his second win, he then had his third win. Bautista showed a bit of form. The Ducati factory came second. And then we got Daniel Petrucci, who was a former MotoGP rider. He came up third in his Ducati, whereas Rea crashed out. So Rea had a really rotten debut on his Yamaha.
We want to forget that.
So great. It looks like World Superbikes are going to be fantastic this year. A lot of different riders up front, different winners. And that's what you like to see, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're following a sport.
Absolutely.
You want different winners.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course you do.
So that was all the racing of the weekend.
Phillip Island,
great
World
track,
Superbikes. That was kind of it. Yeah, good for bikes.
Yeah,
like
that was
cars,
only real racing. Oh yeah, great. You watch the Supercars around there, yeah. And Formula Fords I've seen racing, and I don't know how many cars at the highest level, but I've seen a Formula Ford race there. Epic slipstream, great track.
What race are you going to do this year? You doing any Formula Ford or anything this year? You're going to make a surprise appearance?
Someone will crash into me again. I might get it.
What
down.
do you do? What about
tune it all up?
What about the Caterham? Do a race in the Caterham just for a crack. It was brilliant. It would be so good.
People bang into me.
I know, because everyone's got something to.
Children will beat me.
I know, but because everyone's super competitive and they feel like they got something to prove. You've got nothing to prove. You're just out there for a bit of fun. But I would love you to, and I would love Harry too. So Tiff's got 3 sons. He's got 3 sons, and one of them's just an actor. Yeah, he's just such an. I would love him so much to do it. So when we get our sponsor, we'll be there, and Harry. We'll be there. Next week is quite exciting because, as I said at the beginning,
it's all coming up now. But we got the testing because we had the Formula 1 testing, which was this week. So that was the other thing which bored everyone to death on television. They just go round and round and round.
And the only thing you can tell is Red Bull are going to dominate again. Sorry, not Red Bull. Max Verstappen is going to dominate again. Nothing
seemed to. I mean, they didn't get the fastest lap. But you just never know. I mean, the 2 Ferraris were quickest at the end. And Ferraris looked good, solid, but the sort of pecking order didn't really look to me like anything had changed. The funny thing was everybody else now got last year's Red Bull side pods. This is a big talking point. And Red Bull have got a completely new idea where there's less holes, less air intakes. I don't know how they're cooling their engine. But, the fact that 4th fastest was Guan Yu Zhao in the whatever it's called now. Not even what it's called now. The Spice. What is it called? The Spike? No. The Space. Steak. The fact that Guan Yu was 4th overall, I mean, he won't be 4th on the grid on Friday, that's for sure. Aston Martin was a bit quiet. Oh, no, but you never know. It's all sad. But Aston Martin didn't really have a good time. Alpine, I would say, were the team most worried. Again, they might surprise us completely. Maybe they did the whole test with half full tanks and just race testing, but they didn't really ever have any sort of top 10 times. But of course, the other big thing was the drain hole covers. No, I was going mad again. I kicked off straight away. Let's get track limits. I mean, it's so annoying. And I always think it looks silly that everybody needs to stop because these cars, the curbs are flatter and flatter. And so now these wide runoffs, they're now approaching within one particular turn 12, a left-hander, whichever it was. They're going all the car off the road, over the curbs, over where there's now a drain hole cover, where the circuit designer, it's on a straight. The cars are saying, well, nobody's ever going to be using that. So you might not have used 10th grade manhole cover. You might have used 8th grade manhole cover. But if you send a repetitive number of cars over the top of it with that suction of all that, the aero is sucking the car into the ground. And so if you repetitively drive over them, you might suck one out. But I mean, and then they stopped qualifying, stopped testing. I said, well, hold on a minute. This is just testing. So the simplest rule, just say to your drivers, there's a hole there now. So don't go 3/4 of your car off the road to open the corner. Yeah. Stay on the black bit with all 4 wheels. It's just testing. It's just testing. Yeah. Instead, they lost 3 hours of testing because they insisted that the manholes were rebuilt and they're going to be filled up with concrete for the race.
But it's not dangerous. It's not dangerous in testing where they're not going, where they don't have to go there. Just
if they all know, no.
Yeah. Corner 12.
And it's not somewhere where you'd fall off. It's during the middle of the braking zone, and it's about 10 feet off the track. It's literally how wide's a Grand Prix car? 2 meters.
I saw yourself and Damon having a bit of a chat about that on Twitter briefly. And the other Formula 1 news,
it was outside.
There's no common sense because everybody's scared stiff to make a decision because if they make the decision to carry on with testing and somebody damages their car or hurts himself, then
all these corners now, they're now doing this more and more. They're just edging most of the car off the road to widen the turn in to take an advantage. They've got to put some better. Anyway.
And the other Formula 1 news is that Audi might be pulling out in 20...
I did forget that was, yes.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting.
Beginning that Andretti will pop in and buy it, snaffle it up. There's the sort of the other follow-up to that.
But Andretti should be there anyway on merit.
Well, I know, but the clique's not...
It should be there on merit. It shouldn't need another team to drop out or for things to shuffle around. Dead man's shoes. It shouldn't be like that. It should be
it's still going to be
there on merit.
But yes. Yeah, lots of the big Audi manufacturer. They've got big boss changes, haven't they? And major staff changes at the top level that I don't agree with the Formula One. And anyway, most looking, there's still much more race to look for. It's a brilliant, exciting weekend because, of course, Formula 2 starts, Formula 3 starts, and we've got World Endurance Championship starting in Kuwait. So we just popped through those to look forward to. Formula 2, the main thing is this battle between our boy Ollie Bear, the two Prema boys. So Prema's the best team to be in everything, on average. But he's got this Italian kid, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who's been talked about to take Lewis's place. He's that highly regarded. He's a Mercedes contracted. But it was a shame that Ferrari didn't. I mean, Ferrari have got Ollie Bearman, the British boy. Mercedes has got Andrea Kimi Antonelli, the 17-year-old. So everyone's looking forward to seeing how that pans out. A lot of people predict Victor Martin, the French guy who was fifth in the championship last year, as a favourite, maybe. So very aggressive driver. But interesting, he's got Zach O'Sullivan, the British driver who came second in Formula 3 last year, lined up alongside Martin. So lots of hope that Zach could do well. And the other one to look out for is a lot of very highly touted Brazilian who won the Formula 3 championship, Gabriel Bortoleto. So lots of fashion. Formula 2 is going to be great this year. Formula 3, 30 cars, 5 Brits and 1 Irishman to go and cheer on. Again, looking out for future Brits is Arvid Lindblad. I can't do pronunciation. He's got a Prema drive in Formula 3, very high. He won He won Macau Formula 4 when there weren't all the drivers there. He came fourth or third in the Italian. He's very highly touted, Arvid Lindblad. Then Luke Browning, Kian Shields, the Scottish driver who came second in Euroform. I haven't heard much about him, and he went off and did a not that well-known series last year when he finished second. So that'd be interesting. And then we've got 3 of the boys that did GB3 last year moving out to Formula 3, which is fantastic progression to encourage the British drivers to keep going.
I'm such a big fan of F2, F3. I love to see the young kids come through. And it's tight racing as well, a lot of tight racing. I mean, you get the gaps and you get the better drivers and teams, but a lot of tight racing. You're a big fan of the reverse grids, aren't you? You love that?
No.
Do you think they should keep that, or do you think get rid of it completely?
No, it should go. It's just stupid. It just causes crashes and damage and costs stuff. And I don't see the point in it myself, because I hate it when there's a track where there's little overtaking and the guy that's the 12th fastest Formula 3 driver wins at Monaco or something. I'm a Monaco Grand Prix winner. No, you're the 12th fastest driver around Monaco. You're not, so I know. I don't like those. Occasionally gives good. I understand it gives good, and maybe drivers that show they can overtake them. There are some drivers that won the double, like in Formula 2, where you have to start, you get a reverse grid. And there's some drivers who've been on pole and then won the reverse grid. So that's a big punch point if you do that, but I can't be bothered. But as to good luck of the GB3 boys, Callum Voisin, who won the championship, Joseph Loke, who came third in the championship but won the Autosport award. And also the Irish boy, Alex Dunn, who I rate very highly. He was a Formula 4 champion in Britain in 2022, I think. And he came second in GB3. So 3 of them, all talented young Brits, joining Formula 3.
Speaking of talented young Brits, do you think if I get a podium this year in a Caterham race, I'll get into the BRDC?
No. And then for the girls, Sophia Fleur, she's having another season in Formula 3. She must have done about 3 or 4 already. But it's great that she still keeps going. And she is the only female driver out of the 74 drivers in Formula 1, 2 and 3 out there in, where are we, Bahrain. So good for Sophia. She's still battling away. She's usually just around the top 10, 12, 15. So long may she continue to do her best. And then, if you haven't got enough watching Formula 2 and Formula 3, there'll be 2 races of both of those and the Formula 1. We've got this amazing World Endurance Championship starting off in down the road. How far is Qatar from Bahrain, do you think? And how far away is it?
A little hop, skip and a jump on a plane is literally half an hour where you drive through Saudi Arabia and you get there.
And it's on Saturday, the race. So Eurosport, nice, about 4 p.m. in the afternoon start. Saturday afternoon, you've done Formula 1 qualifying, turn that off, watch the Formula 3-2 race, and then watch... because we got this season, 19 hypercars now, 5 Porsches, 3 Ferraris, 2 Toyotas, 2 BMWs, 2 Alpines, 2 Peugeots, 1 Lamborghini, 1 Cadillac, and 1 Sottofraccini. I don't know quite what they're doing. It's supposed to be a car manufacturer. I think They're a truck manufacturer, Sottofredcini. I think they're going to make road cars. So 19 hypercars, 9 British drivers amongst the crew. Jenson Button, of course, leading the British challenge out there. But then behind these 19 and having to weave through them are 18 GT3 cars. But of course, Qatar is this, one long straight, but turn. So the skill of overtaking, a lot of track limits there, which are going to be very hard to police. How they're going to do that with a field of 19 plus 18, 37 cars, I have no idea. But overtaking the hypercars is going to be such a pressure on the drivers to get through the traffic, don't lose too much time. Only 5 British drivers, 54 drivers at GT3s. You have to have 3 drivers. And only 5 are British. I don't know why we've lost the sort of momentum of British GT. A lot of them in America doing well, earning money. And of course, the Iron Dames, again, for the ladies, the girls, and the men to cheer on. The amazing Iron Dames. They moved from Porsche to a Lamborghini. They're in one of the 2 Lamborghinis this year. And,
still nice and pink, though. Sarah Bovey and
Michelle Gasly. They continue. And of course, we've got Dorian Pan is joining them, who drove the Lamborghini in America last year, so she's used to the Lamborghini. So a lot will be seen to keep how well the Iron Dames do. But no,
Mercedes always does well, though, doesn't it? The Mercedes seems to do best there, but we'll see. They're
not on my list. They're not on my list. They must have an entry.
AMG, Mercedes,
Aston Martin, BMW, Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini, Mustangs, Lexus, Corvettes, and Porsche. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 2 is 18. Well, I don't know now.
Mercedes. Ooh. In terms of females,
sorry everybody. I hope I'm right, but I'm going to have to go. I'm going to lie down. I'll be checking all my magazines now to find out the entry list.
So, in other news, in terms of females,
you're right.
Coming through,
Mercedes dominate GT3 in many aspects, and they're not on my list.
Anyway,
there we go. That's well worth watching. Amazing race.
Ladies coming through. So there was a young lady. Am I allowed to call people young ladies? But yeah, she's a young
girls.
lady.
The women call girls. The women call young
Megan
women
Bruce.
girls.
Oh, it's bloody ridiculous that you're not allowed to.
Megan. Yes.
Anyway, Megan. Lovely Megan Bruce. So she did Caterham last year. I think she did Academy last year. She got a podium. I think she got a fastest lap. I think she got a pole position. She did really, really well. Never been in a race car in her life. And she's doing F4 this year. And she's been doing lots of testing. You imagine testing. But the one of the Brits are good in the wet because she's been doing lots of testing in January and February where it's been pouring down at Donington and Silverstone all over. But she's clearly a bit of a natural. And she's got a good feel for a car. So it'd be good to...
What teams she wonder, teams?
I don't know. But it just shows the difference between lads and ladies, because if she was a lad, maybe she would have taken up karting when she was 8, 9 or something like that, and but because maybe she did other things. I don't know what Megan did, but maybe I know her father, but maybe she did ponies or whatever she did. But if she did it younger, who knows where she might be now? But she's with team.
I've gone to Wiki. No, Mercedes.
No, Mercedes. So that's just the UK series, the British series, then Mercedes.
Yeah, well, they do DTM, they do all sorts. But I'm amazed at because
Fox Motorsport.
What about them? That's the
team Megan. Yeah, that's who Megan's with. Fox Motorsport. That'd be interesting to see how she gets on.
Well, I understand why his name is Mercedes. Well, good. Anyway, well, thanks for listening. But just so much to look forward to. Try NASCAR. I'll keep plugging NASCAR.
He's flustered. This is the first time in my life I've ever seen him flustered. We've done everything together, travelled all over the world.
I know.
He's flustered.
But I'm right. The point is I'm right. But I didn't notice they weren't there, which is what worried me.
He's all flustered. On that note, we'll see you next week. Go and have a beer.